So you hear this idea, and it like gives you that little dog move. What? You know, you heard it, but it's unusual. Your head goes, eh. And then maybe it's you're curious enough, and who knows what the platform is to produce that. You know, the curiosity could come from disillusionment because you put a lot of attention and interest in this idea of spirituality, and you've come to realize there's big holes in the whole way it's presented. Yeah, you know, like they start off with it's indescribable, then they try to describe it. You know, it just goes on and on. So now, and then the non-duality fits, and then you and when you're fed the idea of non-duality, it's not 800 pages. It's like maybe one sentence in a page, yeah, out of 30 pages. Just the one sentence does that little, and then suddenly an aspect that you weren't aware of is activated. Something in a sense that knows before knowing, yeah? It has a feeling. There is that before wanting to know everything, yeah? And there's certain things, and then obviously the mental state is going to arise and claim to be the one that's hearing the message, and it's going to do what it usually does, read tons of fucking books, you know, spend 15 hours on videos, and then a smorgasbord, you know, this one, and thinking more is going to be better, with the hopes that and that will serve you also, because you'll realize more isn't better in this situation, because this has a very interesting novelty. You are what you're setting out to look for. You can't say that about almost anything else. You can't say that about anything else, yeah? That you are that which you're setting out to look for. So hopefully you do that same format grows around this novel feeling, and then you see the futility of trying to use non-duality to become a non-dual person. Yeah, you see that, wow, it could be described pretty clearly. What I'm attempting to do is be a non-self as a self. You know, I want a little non-self attributes to throw into the self. Maybe it'll make me more attractive to myself and to others. Yeah, really. And so hopefully it's not a long lesson. You get it quickly because you have maybe the information of 20 years of disillusionment or frustration, or turning it on you that you're not enough. You should have kissed the foot a little longer, or stayed and, you know, ate more prasad, or sat and meditate. You know, it's done all that. You've had it. You've had enough with that. You don't need any more of those lessons. So you start looking, and then hopefully you hear how the system is going to co-opt this message. That's actually the most important thing, because the message stands in and of itself. It's a fact, really. Yeah. So why did, like I used to, the first video we ever did was, you know, you're a lion. So the old lion and sheep idea, and then the lion is in sheep clothing, and every time it hears that it's a lion, it hears it as a sheep. So you would think that if you kept yelling at the lion, yeah, it would get it. But what it does is, if the sheep programming is claiming to be the hearer, it's actually a disservice. You're reinforcing the sheep. Yeah. So you see that hopefully quickly, and then something changes, and now you talk to the lion about sheepness. Yeah. With the hopes that the lion will hear about what it is and realize, hey, I'm not that. Yeah, I mean, because it has such a stench or a smell. If you're in it, you would call it a perfume. If you're out of it, it's a stench. There's such a stench of personalness that you're not realizing what is called you is a basic stock model version of an interpretive event. Yeah, you're seeing things. It's all projection and perception. It's just unbelievable. Yeah, so you keep getting more and more clues, not about what you are, because what Clues about what you are, held as what you're not, reinforces what you're not. You got it. It's just a fucking mathematical equation. Every time you try to learn about what you are as what you're not, equals more what you're not. Yeah, so how many more, you know, you're past the point of getting it, yeah? Like, just like in recovery, you walk in and no one needs any more research. They know they're fucked somewhere. It's like that interesting question, what does it know that you don't want to know? Well, active alcoholism is, what do you know? You're fucked, yeah? But you don't want to know it. So the programming of denial works feverishly to keep it from the surface, yeah? And you have to take and ingest and do a lot of stuff just to keep that denial going. And it basically sucks not your interest and attention, but the interest tension just to keep this one thing you know, not to the level of knowing, because you just don't want to deal with it. You're feeling like, I've really fucked up. I've hurt a lot of people. Da-da-da-da-da. I don't want to be called to task. Yeah? So it's the same thing in a way with the system of hearing the good news is the identification of being the hearer of the good news, yeah? And well, you can say, well, when is it the hearing and then the hearer? You'll know after a while. All you need is the possibility in there so that when the hearer is claimed out of the hearing, you'll notice it. Yeah, and you'll be your own authority and you'll say, oh, I can sense hearing and I also can sense hearer, yeah? So you now come to, basically. And so what are you actually seeing? What are you actually using to arrive at where you already are is seeing what you're not. Like there's teachers I love which are the negative way, like Wei Wu Wei, an old dude. The negative way is totally fits with me, yeah? So his idea was, forget about, well, I don't know what his idea was. I'm sharing this idea, is let's just look at what we're not. And even, let's say you're gonna look at what you are. And if you look at what you are, held with this understanding, you'll realize what you are is what you're not, yeah? The first looking is still under the premise it's you. So, all right, I'm going to get down to the root of me. You won't. You're going to get down to the root of not me. Yeah? And what's left is what's always been there, but now it's noticeable because all the interest and attention in what you're not has lifted. And now you have the interest and attention sufficient enough to see, hey, I'm not that. Even as what you're not. So in a way, it negates itself. And what happens? Well, you'll find out, you know. Like in my case, acceptance appeared for that which I'm not, which was never available to that which I am. If I was taking myself not to be what I'm not, it was fucking a demand of work, yeah? Urban Renewal Project. Fucking, you know, mea culpa is this and that, because, hey, the Toyota tends to run into fucking buildings, you know? It tends to run over people's feet. You know what I mean? I can't, you know, perfection isn't its goal. It's not gonna make it, yeah? It's just an expression and an observation, yeah, to me. It's not a cause. So now suddenly, and I mean, you get it, just like when I was in recovery, they presented the disease of alcoholism, and they said, hey, well, some people would say, you know, when you're drinking and using, it's like dancing with a gorilla. You're gonna stop when the gorilla wants to stop. And I had ample experience of that, so I was clear, I just needed the right key, and when I realized I'm not that, yeah, so when I drink and use, something takes over the apparatus and is apt to do almost anything. Now, it comes down a little bit, yes, and now the apparatus, but the idea of being the apparatus is still there. So there's craziness as the apparatus, then it simmers down, but there's still the sense of being the apparatus, and then there's guilt and remorse. All this fucking guilt and remorse and blame comes in and catches the same apparatus, because the identification as self isn't based, it's not based on how crazy it gets. It's what's giving the meaning to how crazy it gets. Yeah? So you start seeing this stuff. You have the eyes to see. It's right out there. All you need is sort of like, you know, if you were doing a translation like they do with hieroglyphics, supposedly. I don't know what they do, just using it. So don't, if you're a fucking ancient language translator. But usually they see enough hieroglyphics, they see certain patterns, they see a certain image that's used a lot. So that becomes the key to understanding the other stuff. Yeah? Yeah? Oh, that image represents a man or something. And then, so now the whole block of hieroglyphics with a couple of keys, they can decipher it, they can understand it. It's not a great example, but so this is the way. Non-duality gives you a few keys, right? First of all, what are the two tides of this whole event? Duality, yeah? So, and then once you get the key, then you'll see the patterns of duality. Just like where they used to say, one of the original shapes of appearance in the dreaming is spiral in the world. So you start, oh, now you see every shell and you see spiral, yeah? You've been given a key to what? To understand something that wasn't understood, or understood through ignorance. So the non-duality, and so is like a key. Yeah, some of the things they say. The fundamental key is there's a non-existent thing that's taken to be existing. And taking itself to be existing tends to bring about a lot of dis-ease. And therefore it seeks to get relief. And some of the seeking to get relief got standardized and is now called spiritual fucking searches. Yeah? Yes? So now, and so you can see the non-existent thing taking itself to be existing wants to get salvation for itself. Of course, who wouldn't if it's shitty? Salvation may be just going into the bathroom for 5 minutes or taking a break from whatever's going on. Yeah? So far out, but it's fundamentally flawed because you're not the non-existent thing. So they're not saying, all right, as a non-existent thing, if you do all this, no. Non-duality takes you before the formulations and says, no, netty, not that. It's just simple. It doesn't give you any pronouncement. It just says not to. So every time you see the act of two-ness, which is duality and dualism, because in this sense, we're in dualism right now. Sometimes we're feeling like we're the subject. I'm doing this, yes. And sometimes we feel like an object. I'm being done to by someone. That's dualism. What non-duality says not to. So maybe instead of looking from all of these conditions, now you see them with these eyes of non-duality, and information gets downloaded. Yeah? And you may find that you're onto something. And suddenly it hits a sufficient enough mass. It can happen all of a sudden or whatnot, it doesn't matter. But it becomes a sufficient enough mass where the 80-20 interest and attention ratio is now 51 on silence side and 49 on yapping side, let's say. Makes all the difference in the world here, traveling lighter. So you're going to keep hearing the mechanism, because that's what it is. It's a mechanism. As long as there's life, it's going to say it's my life. Yeah, you better get ready for it, because if you're thinking you're going to turn off what's actually never really been on, it's pointless. It's just going to go and go while you're going and going. Yeah, so, and you'll see that mostly what wants to get out of the body situation is the body identification. You see it finally. So now, okay, you present these little, hey, this is what's going to happen. The lion is not going to get the message it's a lion. Even no matter how close you get, or how long you spend, or what posture you get in, lion posture, whatever, it's not going to get through because there's an identification as a sheep. And the sheep is what's greeting what's happening. Yeah? What we are is sort of, in time, seems to be in a closet, and we're the one that, oh, you know what I mean? Let's say if someone kills the owner of the house, and then the doorbell rings, and he opens, and he acts like he's the owner. Yeah? The guy's bleeding, it's just, let's deny all that. Yeah? Sort of like that. So we try to point out how what you're not reassembles, so to speak. Yeah? So that you won't habitually and lazily, it's not you, but the lazy taking ourselves to be at this made up starting point gets questioned, because maybe it hasn't worked well for you. And you're tired of, I get this, I get that. It still doesn't change the fundamental view that's dominating everything here. So let's see if it's mine. Let's see if I am that. If I'm not that, what happens? All of my connection to its demands and its views get weakened. Which what does it allow? Other possibilities. So one of the first possibilities that became so clear was, I can't be out of a moment. It's impossible. So why am I trying to get into a moment? Maybe I'm going to the group that's trying to get into the moment because I'm trying to get into someone else's pants. So let's just be honest, yeah? I'm not, this trying to get into the moment. I always thought like the books were fishy, I never read one, but How to Get Into the Moment, you're the last one I want to fucking hear to tell me how to get into the moment. Because for me to get into the moment you're talking about, I have to believe I'm out of the moment. Fuck. Yeah? So what happens? Here's this incredible weight. I have the ability to be out of the moment, and every time you get into the moment, seemingly, this weight, so if you actually even looked at 20 years of getting in and out of the moment, you would see most of the time is spent in the narrative that you're out of the moment. And then you have these peak little times, I'm in the moment. But the cost is to be in the moment as Paul is you're going to be out of the moment as Paul. Now, you're not out, but you're going to believe you are. Yes, you see it? You don't need 800 examples. This is the deal. I promise you, as Paul, you will have experiences of being in the moment, like when the shark was in the water coming towards you, maybe in a sex, catching a big wave, yes? Yet, you're also going to have, and this is in very small print, you're going to have all of the shenanigans and insane impossibilities that can arise if you believe you're out of the moment. Which is what triggers a huge drive to get into the moment, which is another fucking slavery that reinforces that you're out of the moment. Oh, wait a minute. I'm tired of that deal, let's say. Yeah, it's not you I'm sharing about. Yeah, it's the system. So you just see what you're not. Yeah? And then you see, hopefully you get samples of about 4 or 5 ways what you're not will regroup. Yeah, because you can go and have a feeling, I'm a lion, but as soon as that feeling, which you may not notice, has been claimed, because it will be the sheep masquerading as a lion. So sort of like when people call me up and say, oh, I disappeared for 2 weeks. I'm talking to the sheep right there, not the lion. The lion doesn't call me to tell me he disappeared, because the lion, in a sense, realizes what was appearing wasn't so. So in a sense, that which disappeared has always been disappeared, in a sense, from the lion's point of view. Yes? So when I get a call, very important lion message, and I read it, it's from the fucking sheep. Yes, the sheep has now sent me, I've been disappeared for 2 weeks. Oh, but you seem to have regrouped. Yes. Yeah. So this is all. It wasn't sufficient to me. The big whacks, I've gotten big whacks. Yeah. But if you don't have a way of life or an understanding, it may change. I've seen it. Look at some people. They started out sharing non-duality, now they're sharing something else. They're offering a lot of things here with it, yeah? They can't just serve it like is. They gotta add stuff, yeah? Because they're serving a public in a way, yeah? Non-duality is like a fact, that's all. If you entertain it, it may prove to you, the you that you're not in a sense, that it's a fact, and then the you that you're not comes to the conclusion it's futile to use itself to find what it is. It's just pointless, yeah? And that is the most, that's a nice, I mean, you cannot believe how many knots are connected to that knot. Unbelievable. When this knot releases, you'll feel a release in all the other knots. Releasing all the other knots doesn't loosen this. But this loosened, you'll travel lighter through the other knots. You won't even need to have them loosened. You'll travel lighter just as they are, because they're all based on you, yeah? So if the you that everything is based on shifts, the traveling will be like way, way different, yeah? And you'll know the tree of non-duality by its fruits, yeah? Yeah. Don't believe anything I just said. I'm just attempting to it's like a guy wanting to hit the note, you know? To me, this is verbal jazz. I'm just a fucking little trumpet that used to be, you know, calling for coke and shit like that. Now it's being played for something else. But I know what's playing it likes to hit certain notes, and it's attempting to deliver a note for the sake of delivering the note. It doesn't, I'm not looking for anyone to understand, because I don't care if a one understands. The note is not meant for your ears, they're meant for what's hearing. And I have faith in it, because I know what's happened to this, and I know what can happen to all of us, yeah? Not by an arduous, strenuous, vigilant fucking thing, but just watching the loss of interest in what you're not. And then conversely, the gaining an interest of what you are in all these unbelievable situations, yeah? So this is a huge meaning. And I am an attractive teacher. I'm going to go in the mirror every morning. I'm an attractive teacher. I'm just going to give myself an Indian name, starting Monday.
Hedgy.
What's wonderful about it is, you know, you can pin anything you want on me. I'm not buying it. It is so obvious I have nothing to do with this. Because if I had something to do with it, I'd be having a lot to do with it all day, which I don't. my role ends here. In the beginning, I tried to become better, and it was clear that that wasn't necessary. Maybe acceptance was, because that showed up. Maybe acceptance of what I'm not, just as it is, you know, quote unquote, is that's, if I could reflect on the observations, that's how I present it, yeah? You may be you may be a crimped hose, but it may be perfect for the job. Yeah. This isn't about fucking perfect hoses. It's about the water that's moving through them. That's the point. We're all from that same little sauce, yeah? So a couple of drops can remind you of the fucking ocean. And I don't like the word remind you, it sounds like in time, but yeah, just a 1 or 2 drops can remind you of the ocean, because You are it. Yes, the idea of the wave. If the wave is stubbornly a wave, the best it can do is try to experience the ocean, really, as a wave. Try to study the ocean as a wave, trying to hope to finally someday, as a wave, have union with the ocean. Unbeknownst to the wave, it is the ocean. Yeah. So the whole point is to see you're not a wave. Though there's waving, the waving doesn't authentically imply there's a wave. There's just waving. Yeah? That's it. So the waving is as much as the ocean as stillness. It's the same ocean. Every last fucking nanoparticle of nothingness is there. Yeah? So see, are you a wave? If you're not the wave, then the idea of experiencing the ocean will become ridiculous to you because you are it. Studying the ocean will be a disservice if you are the ocean. The ocean doesn't need to study. Study is a very, very crude substitute to being. Yeah, being is beyond knowing and getting and achieving and having and experiencing. None of that. All of those are defined by time. Yeah, being is not. Yeah, being is not defined by time. Being can't be lost or found. Yeah, being can't be achieved and then screwed up. Yeah, being is just the basis of all. Yeah, and because we're here, we must be of that. Yes? Like Ramana would say with the self-inquiry, everything goes back to that. So use what you think is the center of everything and use self to question self, so they'll negate each other and you'll realize not, oh, I've arrived at, but you realize that which is always was, will be, and is that beingness. Yeah? And you will not find it as you. You'll never find it. You'll get a sense of being it. Yeah? Yeah. And once you get a taste of being it, you'll lose interest in finding it. Completely. I swear. I mean, finding it may be good for like blogs and stuff and Facebook posts, and especially if you find it in an exotic place, it's great. You'll have followers and shit, but being is a whole different ballgame. It's just, I used to call it dog shit awareness type thing. Yeah, it's just, it would seem ordinary in a sense. From the mental state's view, it would be seen as ordinary. It's not exciting to it. But without a view, it's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, so there you go. We're going away today. Not today, Monday. And if you're listening and you're in Australia and you're near where the meetings are, go to the meetings. They're not sold out. Just when you knock on the door, say Paul sent you. Yeah. So don't let it stop you. All right, that's that. Eh? Point I've seen over time, there's a point to it all. I saw that when you'd be at these meetings and then they'd have a pause, everything would regroup.
Right.
Yeah, so you would be there again, being the hero of it. I don't like that. I want to just bombard it so it goes, I heard that. Oh, another thing, just so it has to give up. Yeah, you can't hold it. You can't get it. I love it. Yeah.
The same thing with my experiences. It's like I'd had, heightened experiences, and then I would regroup.
Of course, not you didn't regroup. It regrouped.
It regrouped.
Yeah, the mental state, of course. Because the mental state is not of bones and shit like that. Yeah, you can't break it or kill it. It's like a shadow that you and I, in this dreaming, we produce. It's this shadow. The thing is, though, while there's a living, to be identified as the shadow, which can only be a narrative, the shadow can't communicate. All it can do is narrate. Yeah. So I just think it's inherently unsatisfactory. So I don't care. I don't need, oh, but I found some exemptions. I don't care, because those exemptions would only last in time.
But it's just going to be a function that's just going to go on until
it seems to, as long as you're here, done. It seems to function.
And it's just netty.
Well, you don't have to. I'm not a big believer of netty. I'm like netty. Maybe.
Right.
I want to cut down the netties so that you finally see a pattern that represents all the netties, and just lose that.
Okay.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead of having a netty everything, geez, that's work too.
Yeah.
If you see, I'm not this, I'm not that, there can be a surmising. You don't need 8 billion examples. Just a few maybe will do it. Yeah. So
back to Jesus, we were saying, I doubt that he said it, but basically he was speaking the language of his time and place. Otherwise he would be understood. So when he said kingdom of heaven, I see that as you are the presence, you are the being. Because that was the language of the time. God, there is a God, there's a person, and man. But it was language of the time that he was speaking so that he could reach his audiences. But what he meant is what he said, that you are the being, you are the presence, the awareness, and all of that. So it's much misunderstood.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the same with lots of Indian guys. I have a good friend that doesn't relate to Advaita and all of that because he gets stuck on the language of the speaker, which is tailored to the audience of the time and specific location. But you got to get beyond that and sort of see where they were driving at.
You'd hope, yeah.
Right.
You'd hope.
Yeah, it's true. People get hung up on
Sure.
And the customs even.
Well, there's that old thing about the monk with the old scriptures, and then running up and saying the word was celebrate instead of celibate.
I never heard
One word could change a fucking whole lot of the basic understanding. Yeah, I mean the dog level understanding of words, not looking into getting beyond the literalness of it. And to me that's some livingness being passed on to livingness. The living word to me has oomph and value. Once it gets into like fundamentalism, it's like you're introducing arthritis to it. It just gets rigid and it's going to break, and therefore it is a defense against that. And then they start killing other people that don't agree with them.
And they distort it. They kind of root on certain things and ignore the others and completely distort the message.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody's concentrating on love your neighbor and
I know. We don't need the fundamental teachings. Jesus. Fuck the teachings. We hate the teachings, but we like Jesus.
It somehow becomes fear-based.
As long as he looks like white with blue eyes.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, a lot of messages somehow they become fear-based. They get turned around.
Well, because of the system. The system attempts to define everything before you can find out anything. It's basically, like bread, and then there's bread with a lot of processed food. That's not necessary for bread. They just add shit. Yeah?
Right.
So because they've got some people that have tons of corn syrup, so they put corn syrup in fucking everything so that those people don't get stuck because they vote for whatever. Yeah? There's always a little agenda going on. Yeah. So whatever. You can't get around it. Everyone's gonna give it. You do your best you can, but your jurisdiction of sharing it is over here because you're going to make it what it's going to be for you. And that's a good indication that you're understanding, at least you're understanding it. A lot of people what they do is they hear this stuff, and then when they read like Ramana and shit, it helps them understand stuff. So it's being valuable. It's valuable to try to put out information, and then people, I wouldn't use it to do that. I don't like books that much anymore. But people do it, and so now they understand more far out. But again, understanding ain't it either. See? Understanding can be helpful, but it ain't it. So and we want to make everything it. And there's nothing it other than what you are. Yeah, so you can use all you want, dreaming yourself out of the dreaming, yeah, but it's actually what you are that's acting in the dreaming oneself out of the dreaming. Yeah, yeah. So it can use a phone book. It could use whatever it fucking wants. You know what I mean? I could they forgot to put cheese on my Big Mac, and I could wake up right there. Doesn't matter. Then everyone starts going to, McDonald's. No, hopefully not. So let's say a prayer, eh? And